What did a friend of yours do that turned you on without them knowing it? A college housemate was on the couch next to me as we watched TV one night. She mentioned a concert that was coming up and asked if I was down to go. I wasn't too keen, so I turned and had her a blank stare. She held my gaze and moved her eyebrows up and down twice quickly. The effect was devastating. I don't know if it counts as turned on or a moment of deep infatuation, but I still think about those goddamn eyebrows. Is this her DuckDuckGo webpage? 15 years ago my friend at uni invited some of us over to watch him play Resident Evil 4 that had just been released on the GameCube and later watch a film. Knocked on his door. He answered and I got the strangest later boner. He had picked up his new glasses and had a haircut when he picked up the game in town. Something about his new look stirred something inside me. Started dating 4 years later and we're getting married next year. Edit wow. Lots of people liked this story. Told my fiancé about topic and he immediately said, did you post about my haircut and glasses when we played Resi 4? So yeah, he is well aware of the story now. This was kind of the reverse for me. I knew I needed glasses but had been lazy about seeing an eye doctor. Then the girlfriend and I stopped by the unclaimed baggage store on the way to Cathedral Caverns. I jokingly teased her about having a nerd fetish and grabbed a pair of glasses from the rack and put them on. I bit my lip and gave her a slow look head to toe and back. When I got back to her face it was bright red and she had trouble putting words together for a few minutes. I was on voice chat with a gaming friend I'd never had any particular attraction to. It was getting late, and I commented that I needed to go to bed soon. She told me to, but I laughed it off and said I probably wouldn't for at least another hour. In a slow, southern drawl, she replied, I'm not asking you, Babiddle. I'm telling you. I've never gotten aroused faster in my life. I had to mute the call for a minute and assess what the fuck just happened. So it was the day after this huge natural disaster happened. Major news story in the US in August 2017. And the government agency I work for was like, all hands on deck. So every civil engineer was assigned to relief and recovery efforts, including me. The guy who sat next to me at work was your typical nerdy engineer, but dressed nicer. Then as I was waiting outside to be sent to the field, I saw him getting out of a truck wearing dirty jeans, steel toe boots, and carrying his hard hat, looking all sweaty and dirty and delicious. He's my boyfriend now. Like officially your boyfriend or missing, presumed dead, secretly tied up in your basement? LMAO, like officially. We both still work here. Just, we live together now, and our co-workers jokingly call us doctor and doctor his last name, even though we're not actually married. It's all very nerdy, but then again, so are we. Had a friend, F, in college that I was pretty close with. We had a lot of overlap in our classes, we were from the same city so occasionally drove back home together, our college was 4 hours away, etc. We got along very well, but most of our interaction was class homework related rather than social stuff, so I never really thought about her in a romantic context. She was one of those staying and study on Friday Saturday nights underclassmen, and I was going out and getting loaded every weekend. One day in the computer lab, she came up behind me and put her hands on my shoulders and asked me a perfectly normal question about what I was working on. There was just something about the physical touch, the fact that I was distracted, her scent, the fact that we were close friends. I jumped like someone had hit me with a cattle prod. It dawned on me that this is someone I should be trying to date instead of going out and getting wasted at yet another kegger. Unfortunately, she was dating someone at the time. I was nowhere near forward enough to try and break someone up, and I didn't want to risk our friendship, so nothing ever happened. She was in one relationship or another for the rest of college, and ended up marrying the guy she dated our senior year. Was in a group of friends talking and one girl mentioned she had just got a nipple ring. At that moment someone in the kitchen mentioned the food was ready and everyone except her and I got up and ran to get fed. I started getting up and I heard her say, "What do you think?" When I looked up she had her shirt and bra lifted to her shoulder to show off her new jewelry and she had crinkled up her nose and had this devious little smile. Nothing sexual had ever transpired between us previously, so this caught me off guard. But it wasn't even that really got me. It was when someone came back in the room just a second after I said wow, and asked me what I was talking about. While my friend from the kitchen was looking at me, she smiled and held her finger up to her lips in the universal SHHH motion like it was a sexy secret just between her and I. Just melted me. A friend of mine asked me to hang out with her in her dorm room. We were planning on watching a movie, but at the same time she said she was going to do some laundry. I told her I had no issue helping her with, that is, carrying the actual laundry bag. I knew she was kind of taking advantage of me, but she also made killer nachos, so it seemed like a fair trade. When I got there, she was essentially wearing sleepwear, a tank top, half shirt and very tight red running shorts. It was very difficult to pay attention to movie. So she asked you to hang out in her dorm with her, was wearing sexy clothes and made you food. Whoosh. Many moments of our initial relationship could be described like that. On what I later learned was our first date, I told her that I was looking forward to asking out another girl. You must be the only woman describing how a guy turned you on. All the others are men talking about how a girl turned them on. Yeah, I was scrolling down a while to find this. Now to keep scrolling to find when a guy turned a guy on and when a girl turned a girl on. Edit, since other people are sharing. Mine was in theater. Obs. I was a sophomore. He was a senior. During a dress rehearsal we were in the wings waiting for a scene change, and the leading girl, who was one of those annoying theater kids who took everything too seriously, was doing some dramatic scene facing us. He whispers in my ear that we're gonna mess with her, then goes behind me and starts pretending to give me a reach around, his crotch pressed into my ass, big ol' strokes with his arm, both of us making O faces as we try to distract her. It works. She's furious at us, and I'm desperately trying to conceal the massive boner I got from it. Bonus points. The guys in theater had a light competition about who could rack up the most on stage hardens without anyone noticing. I swear most turned out to be straight, and going on stage in the scene after was my first. I used to be the token gay among a group of dudes I met in college, and I know there were plenty of times they made the kind of joking, offhand comments straight guys do like suck my dick, and I would be internally screaming. I can do the latter for ya. Best friend with this one girl for a while now. We met online in a game and had known each other for a couple of years at that point. We were just having a casual discussion. I was frustrated about something and said fuck me, as is a common expression of frustration. She jokingly said maybe I will. I got flushed and laughed it off, but I never forgot it. And now we're dating and she'll probably be moving to my country to live with me late this year, early next year. Seeing lots of male stories and a lack of female ones, so here we go, straight from your local internet whore. It's never a surprise hug or random brush up for myself, at least. It's that raspy voice they get when they are sleepy. It just hits me right in the guts for an instant waterfall every time. It's to the point where I avoid it if possible so I don't have to deal with my own internalized embarrassment for being turned on over something so mundane, lol. For a more specific example, I'm getting ready to do some work one morning when my phone goes off. It's my friend and I answer with a hello. Cause A, he's normally not awake at that time, and B, he never calls a soul, just like the true millennials we are. He doesn't say shit and I just hear rustling, so I figured I got pocket dialed. I called out hello, a little louder into the phone, and then a few seconds later he picked up the phone with that fucking sleepy voice of doom that damned my panties to oblivion. Oh sorry, I was sleeping, I must have called on accident, and then hangs up. And NBSP, he gives me a heart attack since this was the first phone call I'd had gotten in weeks, then gets me wet as fuck unintentionally, and the cherry on top was hanging up before I could even say something like no worries. Fucking rudess. I was working as an intern, and I became friends with my project lead since we had good banter and the whole situation was pretty lax. One time most of the group was just chatting about something while I was leaning over a cubicle wall, and he was a larger guy, so when he had to sidle behind me he pretty much pushed me up against the cubicle wall with his crotch against my ass area for like 0.5 seconds. It triggered a memory and I've never gone from completely unhorny to turned on ashamed so quickly. She was singing as part of a play for an arts program I was participating in. I had just met her a few weeks before that performance, and was dating someone at the time, but my heart stopped for a second when I heard her. I didn't get to really talk to her for a few years after that, but always kept how that felt in mind. A year and a half ago I shot my shot and we've been dating since. Not exactly turned on, but absolutely taken by her. Ugh. I had a friend in high school who was a fantastic musician. Jazz band, not me, I was the nerdy jock, and no one knew she could sing. She worked it out with the band director that they would have her sing at last during her final show, even the band didn't know. Now I always found her rather attractive, but after that she had folks practically throwing themselves at her. Not me though, I only, when she asked what I thought, replied, I kind of want to marry you. I'm a straight girl and I've never been into girls, but I do feel curious. This one time, my childhood BFF came home and we had a sleepover with other female friends. We were all in PJs chatting about nothing in particular. Then we decided to watch a movie and my BFF decides to sit on my lap. And that was okay, but after a few minutes she started moving her hips slightly, like trying to adjust her sitting position, and something about the smell of her hair or the hips motion just did the trick. Edit. Fixed a few typos. Reading this reminded me of my own feelings when I was figuring out that I was a bi female. Just keep in mind that being bi isn't always 50/50. So should something similar ever happen again, then you'll be able to figure out how your bisexuality measures between the two sexes. Some friends and I went down to Nashville this past weekend to visit our other friends. We stayed in their apartment, which was very limited on sleeping arrangements. So my friend and I, who I've actually had a crush on for years, ended up sharing a twin-sized air mattress. Nothing really happened except for some extremely mild cuddling, but I was just so comfortable laying next to her I never wanted the morning to come. She is absolutely perfect and those 2 nights only confirmed that. One day. Not exactly the same as OP asked. Instead it was I that was doing the turning on. In high school there was this girl that was generally seen as weird, but she was friendless, so I didn't have anything against her. One day as I walked by her I poked her with my finger on her side. It was something we would do in school, not sure why, and she tensed up and said not to do that, so I asked her why, but she wouldn't say. I kept prying for a while until she told me it turned her on. I thought she was just playing around and told me that just so I would stop asking, but some weeks later I poked her again and she let out a little moan and looked at me embarrassed. I never poked her again after that. High school state FBLA conference, located in our state's largest city. We're from a small town. One night was dance night, social mixer for the conference attendees. I wasn't really social, so I was mostly hanging out by the wall and not mixing with the people very much. A female classmate was the same way. After a while she was bored enough she asked me to walk her back from the conference hotel over across the street to the other hotel where our team was sleeping. In reality all she wanted was an escort so she didn't have to cross the street at night in a strange city all by herself. I've learned that's a thing that women do, and she considered me a safe partner for that purpose. But seriously, for the next few months I legit thought she was crush material. Was in high school and my crush came up to me to tell me a joke. I said what? After every question. BTW. She was probably the most innocent girl you'd ever meet, and she 100% was not trying to flirt or turn anyone on. What does a positive girl sound like when she orgasms? Oh yes. Oh yes. What does a religious girl sound like when she orgasms? Oh god. Oh god. What does a girl sound like when she's faking her orgasm? Oh 4-4. Oh 4-4. We both laughed and that whole memory went right into my spank bank. One time, I was grabbing lunch with a friend. I'm kind of dorky and like things like comics and video games. Most of the time when I bring it up, guys feel the need to keep talking lore with me until they paint me into a corner with something I don't know. It's like they're testing my knowledge or something because they think I'm a poser. This time was different though. He just let me gush and then told me about the stuff he liked without being a snob about it. We didn't agree on all points, but he wasn't confrontational about it. I'm a really soft-spoken and shy person, but I could have grabbed his collar and kissed him right then and there. I wanted him to grab my hand on the way home so bad, but he never did. We've known each other 4 years now, and he just recently told me that he had a crush on another girl he was friends with. Just about shattered my whole world, but I'll be okay with some time. I have a friend that I have known for like 15 years. Since middle school. Love her to death. We have been catching up more recently as our personal lives tend to take over sometimes. Well, she wanted to go swimming the other week and I wasn't feeling it. I told her that. She basically said nah, bitch, started pulling my pants down, spanked my ass, and told me to put my swimsuit on. Edit, lives not loves. Wait, how does this even happen? She pulled your pants down and hit you in the ass? Damn bro. Edit, damn girl. Yeah. I am also a female if that matters. But yeah, she's just like that. I don't really know how to explain her personality very well. I think I know the kind of girl you're talking about. I have a friend who, when I told her my husband had asked for a naughty pic on a night out, stood in front of me, unbuttoned my shirt and cupped my boobs so I could get a more cleavage. Why pic? Nothing to it. She's just super comfortable being handsy. Today over lunch we were talking about her being newly single again. She has a date coming up. Somehow, and I can't remember how, we got talking about sex. And she at no point stopped us until my boss walked into the lunchroom. It was just us as we ate late. What positions we liked, how most girls can't orgasm from POV, some guys can't orgasm from blowjobs, my oral methods. Her oral methods. It was like two experienced people having a conversation about sex, just really comfortable, not shy about it. Laughter thrown in. She goes, does talking about this at work really turn you on? Yes. Oh my god, me too, right. Now, we've been really comfortable with each other for months. I feel like something is there, but I can't be sure, because I know I'm not her type from what we've discussed a few times before. Part of me is like, duh, she was talking about sex with you because she wants your D, man the fuck up and get out with her. And another part is like, well, I've been a sort of rock for her for financial advice and advice on X and Y these past 5 or 6 months. She probably just sees me as a brother right now. So, I guess talking about sex turns me on. Go figure. Can't decide if it was deliberate or not on her end or without her knowing it. When I walked past her to leave work, she said out loud, have fun at home tonight. I'm an idiot, aren't I? Just ask her to hang out after work one day, with no expectations of her behaving any differently towards you than she already does. It doesn't have to come off as you asking her out on a date. Ask as if she's just a coworker you casually want to hang out with. And X200B, if she wants to invite a few other coworkers with you guys to make it a team night out, she's probably not interested. If she comes out alone with you, then just play it cool and see how she acts, but she's probably interested in this case. So I'm B, in a very committed relationship with my BF. But my female friend unintentionally turned me on one day. Her and her husband came by to hang out. She was wearing black shorts with ripped tights underneath. I don't know why, but when women wear tights under shorts, it makes me a bit weak. She's tiny and decided she was going to lay on my lover seat and just showed off her legs to me. I had never been so confused and felt so bad in my life. I had a similar moment. One of my friends was wearing a very pretty but kind of short dress. Well, it slipped up a bit and showed the edge of the Docker reinforced shorts part of her nylons. I felt like such a creep for her, noticing, B, being turned on, and C, wishing she were at least a bit gay. A little more than a friend, but still unknown to her at the time. Anyway, early in the dating part of my current relationship, prior to sex or BFGF label, we were talking about eye contact after I complimented her eyes crazy blue, big, just beautiful and awesome. I love them. She stared, unblinking, straight into my eyes for just a few seconds with this perfect little half smile that left me incapable of standing up from the table for a while. She still gets me with that move, Sometimes. So I am in management, and I have a good relationship with most of my employees. I consider myself friends with many of them. One day I was telling one of my employees she was at the limit of time she was supposed to be on break. She of course responds with "Gee, mom, thanks," before getting back to work. This is fairly normal banter for us, and I begin to reply back with "I'm not your mom, I'm your daddy." I stopped before saying daddy, but everyone knew what was about to come out of my mouth. Well, one of her co-workers overheard our banter and called me daddy for like a week. Now normally this wouldn't be a problem. I however am a dom in my private life. So her calling me daddy even jokingly was like a trigger turn on for me. She probably gave me a boner at work at least once a day for nearly a week. Luckily my friend that I was bantering with originally clued her co-worker in on that it was not so much inappropriate, just something she should avoid calling me. Luckily everyone hates talking to HR. When she started stripping and trying on different outfits right in front of me, either she's dropping very blunt hints that I should make a move, or I'm so deep in the friend zone she doesn't even think of me as a man. As it turned out, she was dropping the hints. We went to a party together and wound up in a bedroom the whole time, banging for a good 2 hours straight. Everybody thought we'd left. It was my freshman year and I was in ROTC. We had to practice marching and my platoon leader was walking beside me telling me to get in step, insert my last name. He would also come up to me during workouts and tell me to keep going or count really loudly as I bench did push-ups act. That's how I found out I was a sub. I'm about to start college and me and him have been together ever since. Prolonged eye contact. We were in a semi-formal party and sat around a table having breakfast brunch and she sat across from me. We were just having small talk, but me, having watched some Charisma on command days before, wanted to practice having more eye contact. I suck at it. Dart. It ended up being more of a staring contest for me, as I wanted her to look away first as we talked, but I just pussied out. I have always had a thing for men who are older than me, but that was a deep dark secret as a teenage guy in a strict Southern Baptist home. I worked through my teens and early 20s at a grocery store while I went to high school and college, and I worked with an older guy who I really grew to like. He was funny and a nice guy and I found him super cute. One night after closing the store we were finishing cleaning up and stuff and he stopped to tuck in his shirt and he dropped his pants down around his thighs while he smoothed his shirt down and tucked it into his pants, then pulled up his pants and zipped them back up. For a brief second this guy I had a crush on for like a year was standing there in his tighty whities. I almost died. One time when I was about 18 or 19, I was at my older brother's place and a bunch of friends were over for some drinking and fun. We started playing Twister, and seeing as we were all slightly inebriated, it turned into a roughhousing match. My brother's girlfriend somehow ended up on my back. This wasn't what did it, but at one point she decided to slightly nibble on my ear. It was completely innocent. We've always had a pretty strong brother-sister relationship. They're still together today. But oh fuck, did that do the trick? Went directly from 6 to midnight. Luckily, I was at the bottom of the dog pile, and nobody was able to notice. It was completely innocent. No, it wasn't. She knew exactly what she was doing. Ron Howard. No, it wasn't. Oh fuck off. She nibbled on your ear innocently. She was tipsy and wrestling dudes. You weren't the only one turned on. 2 things. She likes being choked and I like choking. One night we were drinking at a friend's place and she took a picture with me and put her head back exposing her neck. I saw the picture and have not forgotten it. She has this pair of black shorts that show off the bottom of her ass cheeks. She was at my place playing with my cat and kind of in a face down ass up position and I just could not stop staring at her. This continued for a few more minutes as she threw my cat's toys around and I was pretty much ready at that moment. When I was a junior in HS I was in marching band. We were going to be marching at a home football game, so I was changing into my band uniform in a spare practice room. Just finishing up when my best friend, a pretty girl with big green eyes, walks in and was like, "Yo, I'm going to change in here." Before I could turn around or leave she was stripping out of her shirt, and from there slipped off her pants, leaving me slack-jawed and trying desperately not to stare at her half-naked body. She just jabbered on about her day and her life while she put on her band uniform, and like that it was over. We talked about it later, and we realized that it wasn't her standing there in a bra and panties that got me so hard, it was the actual act and movement of her undressing. Something about watching the interplay of muscles while a female does that just drives me wild. You're right about the woman undressing thing. Was in a movie theater watching I think some Avengers movie. There was a scene where Scarlett Johansson was like in the back of a car changing real quick. I legit gasped out loud and said oh my god, not so quietly under my breath. My college friend sitting right next to me, who was a lesbian, also gasped and then looked at me and we chuckled haha. And X200B. It was a great moment for me to share with my friend actually. I've never shared such a reaction with a woman like that before. A good friend from college and I were joking around, like trying to pick a fight with each other, and he's way taller than me. Suddenly he said something like should I get you a chair for you to stand on? Followed by a wink, and the look on his face while he said it made it for me. I was so shocked at how much of a turn on that was for me, that I didn't even think of talking back. The blush on my face was pretty visible but he thought I was just mad at the comment. Little does he know I still like it a lot when we joke around like that. I'm a straight female. Once I was hanging with a friend who has large breasts, and her shirt was low cut. I wasn't looking at them, but seeing the cleavage in my lower peripheral vision while we talked, got me feeling like I wanted her. It was very random and only happened one time. This gave me a greater appreciation for what men have to deal with when we women wear revealing clothes, even if they aren't trying to look at what's shown. It can cause an automatic arousal without any desire for it. Kinda hard to explain but I'll try. In my country to say hello we don't hug or shake hands like Americans. We kiss each other's cheeks, I mean with PPL you already know well. We don't actually kiss, we just stick both of our cheeks and make the sound of a kiss with our mouth. And when a girl actually uses her lips to kiss your cheek, you know the shit is going real. That's the ultimate sign of I'm into you. And it turns you on. I was drinking with this girl and seating was limited so she sat on my lap. She's very overtly sexual but not a slut by any means. And my roommates came out and sat around us. IDKY but the way she was sitting and how confident she was made me crazy. I kept it under control for about an hour but then with the power of alcohol she felt me getting hard. Then without missing a beat leaned back and whispered I didn't know you like this. I was fucking her 5 minutes later. Then without missing a beat leaned back and whispered I didn't know you like this. I was fucking her 5 minutes later. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you fucked a liar. She knew exactly what she was doing. So I am a 6 feet 5 inches, 260 pounds, fur-coated, bearded, big teddy bear to anyone I know. To those I don't know I am a giant red-bearded Norseman who will rape their cattle, kill their women, salt their house, and burn their fields or however my ancestors did it. And I personify both, situation dependent, because while I will let someone put makeup on me and sit at a tea party with a child, I will also merrily beat the life out of anyone who want to start some bullshit. All that is to say, at a bonfire party one night, a friend of mine was feeling uncomfortable about some of the people present. She has some past issues with sexual abuse and a lot of mental health issues that come with said abuse, so she just sat across my lap much like an large child would and held on to me for support. This isn't what did it for me. The problem is, she farted, and the vibration was right on my junk. And it felt disturbingly pleasant. So Mr. Happy decided to wake up to that alarm. Fortunately she laughed it off but I felt embarrassed after that. Edit. Thank you for the silver kind stranger. First time and it was for getting farted on. This sums up my life.